Your leadership team of our Tennessee Ministry Network just returned from the 61st General Council in Orlando, Florida. And it was an honor for us to represent all of you in the General Presbytery meetings, which included around 350 presbyters from all across our fellowship. In our General Council meetings, there were about 4,500 credentialed ministers and delegates in attendance, and another 18,000 youth with their youth pastors and their sponsors who came to compete in fine arts and have an encounter with Jesus. Let's start with an announcement about the most important thing we can do. On July 4th, 2026, as America celebrates its 250th year as a nation, the Assemblies of God will host the largest prayer endeavor in the history of our fellowship. Friends, we know that prayer shifts atmospheres and transforms nations. So with a focus on returning to the fear of the Lord, repentance from sin, and deliverance from evil, you will definitely want to be part of this nationwide event. You can find all the information you'll need at prayercenter.ag.org. We also had some significant elections. I can report to you that all three of our executive officers who were up for election were returned to office overwhelmingly. Pastor Doug Clay was reelected as our General Superintendent, Rick Ross was elected as our General Treasurer, and Choco de Jesus was elected as our Executive Director of U.S. Missions. Now let's talk data. The Assemblies of God is still the fastest growing fellowship of believers in the world. Listen to this. Worldwide, the Assemblies of God has almost 89 million adherents, over 450,000 churches, and almost 440,000 credentialed ministers. A new Assemblies of God church starts somewhere in the world every 62 minutes, meaning there are now over 10 times more Assemblies of God churches than there are McDonald's restaurants. Get this, a salvation takes place through an Assemblies of God church or ministry somewhere in the world every 54 seconds. How about church planting, which is such a huge part of our movement? Did you know that 22% of our churches in the United States are less than 10 years old? Regarding the diversity of our fellowship, more than 46% of adherents in the United States are minorities, with 23% of our people being Hispanic. In fact, we are the most diverse fellowship of believers in the United States. Regarding age, over half of the people who attend our churches in the U.S. are under the age of 35. That's significant. And here's a really big one. Over 29% of the 38,000 credentialed ministers of the Assemblies of God, that's over 11,000, are now women. That's wonderful growth in our fellowship, and it's continuing to grow. Now, concerning our churches, in the United States alone, with almost 13,000 churches reporting, we had an increase in Sunday worship attendance by over 113,000, the largest increase in over 4 decades. We now have over 3 million adherents, the most we've ever had in our history. And here's the best news. We had 530,000 salvations. That's the most conversions we've seen in 25 years. We baptized 168,000 in water. That's the most we've ever had in our history as a fellowship. And we had over 84,000 spirit baptisms, which was also an increase from 2023. Now specifically right here in Tennessee, we had over 6,000 salvations, more than 3,300 water baptisms, and over 1,500 spirit baptisms. As a network, we're exceeding the national average in several key areas, including first-time converts who get water baptized, the percentage of spirit baptisms for new converts, and intentional discipleship. Also, if you're familiar with the Bible Engagement Project, which our church uses, and I know many of our Tennessee churches do as well, it has grown from 400 user churches in 2023 to over 29,000 in 2025, with over 700,000 users being discipled every single week. Best of all, it's still completely free to use. Now we're almost done, but here's the part I've been waiting for. Let's talk about missions. In 2024, AG Ministries, including BGMC, Speed the Light, Light for the Lost, and Light the Way, among others, raised $38 million to advance global evangelism and discipleship. Light for the Lost alone raised over $10 million for the very first time. Now let's talk about Assemblies of God World Missions. As of today, AGWM has almost 2,600 missionaries, comprising around 1,500 missionary individuals or families serving in 157 countries and regions around the world. But we're not stopping there. On Thursday evening at General Council, AGWM launched a huge initiative, perhaps the biggest since the foundation of the Assemblies of God, to increase our boots-on-the-ground missionaries from around 2,600 to 4,000 by the year 2033. The initiative is called Gospel Access, and its purpose is to take the gospel to the remaining 2,085 unreached and unengaged people groups of the world. An unreached or unengaged people group is a place where there are no missionaries and either few or no known believers. Those of us who attended this event were challenged with a question. Our AGWM Executive Director, John Easter, asked, "What's your number?" Meaning, how many of our sons and daughters of the house, of our churches, will we release and encourage in the next 8 years to become Assemblies of God world missionaries to address this monumental task? A quote attributed to Lauren Triplett, a former AGWM Executive Director, has become the clarion call for us as a missions movement. He said, "We dare not measure our success against anything but the unfinished task." Well, that's the conclusion of my report. I know that was a lot of information, which is why we recorded it on video so you can replay it as needed or maybe never watch it again. So thank you for allowing me to serve as your General Presbyter with our amazing Tennessee leadership team. Be blessed, everyone.